Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Chew on This. I'm Devra.
And I'm Ray. Welcome.
We're so happy that you joined us today.
Oh.
He's got this thing now. He's going to wear a new T-shirt every single time.
Well, not every time, but most of the time. So you'll never guess who this is. Oh. I figure it's the season.
It's the season. So.
What season is that? Oh, that's Christmas.
Oh,
that's
it's Christmas. Right after Thanksgiving dinner, we were heading on the way home, and we put on the radio, and already there was Christmas music. They did wait until after Thanksgiving, which was a good thing. I appreciated that. But Christmas music's on the way. He's all dressed up. He actually got the Christmas tree out today.
Yes, I did.
The lights are up.
It was fun getting up in the attic.
I'm representing. I have a little Santa pin. Two things I love about Christmas are Santa and Baby Jesus.
I like the music. I love the music. I could listen to Christmas music all year long.
Yeah, some people don't like that. I don't get it.
I get it.
Like, there's a song called Can I say the name of a song? How Many Kings? I love that song. So I can listen to some songs all year long. But we're going to get right to our first guest because I am so excited and thrilled that my mentor and my friend, Karen Langston, is joining us via Skype. This is going to be a new experience for us. So we'll see how this works. Thanks, Nick, for getting us figured out. Karen, Karen has a long bio, but I'm not gonna go through all that. All I want to say to you about Karen is she is the most authentic, caring person I think I've ever met, and she truly cares about educating others, so the educators can then go out and educate their friends and family and their clients and the people that they come in contact with, because what you don't know about health really can hurt you, and it's really important. So Karen is visiting with us via Skype, and we're going to jump right in. Some of you know that we put out there on Facebook today that you could ask some questions. So she's going to be asking some of your questions, and I'll take a minute in a few minutes just to go look at if there's any more questions. But for now, welcome, Karen.
Hi, Devra and Ray. So glad to be here. Thank you.
This is awesome. There's only one thing that would make this better, and that was for you to be here so I could give you a hug.
Yeah. Oh, well, virtual hug to you.
And where are you?
Where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's lovely out. And I realized last minute that, oh my gosh, it's 5 p.m. here. I better go get a light. Or we'd be doing this in the dark.
Yes, it's getting dark way early.
Yeah. And just to let you know, I'm one of those people who does not like Christmas music. I'm sorry. There's Caribbean Christmas music that's out of this world, and I love that. But I just don't like our traditional Christmas music.
Well, each to his own.
Right. Just wanted to let you know, I'm that 1% of the population.
Yeah, I'm not a Frosty the Snowman kind of fan.
Yeah, I could handle that. Yeah, I could
like
definitely handle that.
Yeah. It's a good thing we connect on so many other different levels.
Yes. Just as long as Christmas music doesn't get in the way.
So you don't have to agree about everything, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you have a ton of questions for me today, right?
I do.
I'm feeling the pressure.
But just for those who don't know, Karen is a nutritionist, and you have a whole bunch of letters behind your name. One of them is a microscopist. I almost said it right.
You were pretty close. Microscopist. Yes,
what?
you were very close.
And so I'm going to jump right in with some of the first questions.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. When someone tells you if you see a change in your stools, contact your doctor. What does that mean? What does it mean if you see a change? What is that change you're looking for?
Right, and just before I jump into that, you're probably seeing my cat. As much as I would like to just close the door, we wouldn't be able to have an interview. So when I do my podcasting and my vlogs, he's in everything. So that's the only reason why he's here, and this is Zazu. So now we'll jump into answering that question. And a lot of times you hear this, they being the health experts. And I think that they leave this ambiguous on purpose, because if they came out with a set rule, then if something was different, but because it wasn't part of the rules, then what might happen is that would get left out, and maybe that one thing that you thought was normal wasn't normal. So I think it's good that it is ambiguous. And what it really comes down to is we all know the types of poops we have. We either are going to have those 3 wonderful poops a day, or we're going to have, maybe 1 a day or 1 or 2, and, occasionally we'll have diarrhea. You kind of know what your pattern is like. So what they mean by that is if suddenly something changes. So let's say that you have 3 wonderful poops a day and all of a sudden you go down to 1 and it's been a month, and things aren't changing. That's something that I would probably go and talk to the doctor about for sure. Mm-hmm. Because if you suddenly start having constipation, there could be a blockage, there could be a stricture, it might even be thyroid problem. But you won't know that unless you go and talk to the doctor about it. Now, let's say all of a sudden you start having diarrhea. And if this diarrhea is lasting more than 3 days, it could be a bacterial infection, it could be parasitic, it could be related to health issues such as inflammatory bowel disease or IBS as well. So we also want to look at the consistency of our poop too. So let's say that suddenly you start having poops that resemble coffee grounds. This may be an indication of cancer. So we would definitely want to get that checked out. Let's say that there's pale or clay-colored poop or even white poop. You definitely want to get that checked out because it could be related to a liver or gallbladder problem, including gallstones or bile duct blockages. But what you also have to take into account, don't go running to the doctors, if you just had a test done or you ate something that, made your poop turn white. So let's say that you had a barium follow-through. That is definitely going to leave your poop white-colored, and you should be sent home with a list of things that could potentially happen and when to check back in with the doctor. If you have black poop or a tar-like poop, you definitely want to get that checked out because that's a sign of bleeding in the upper digestive tract. However, I can't remember the name of the beer, but there's one specific beer, and I feel like it's a British beer, along with kaopectate and Pepto-Bismol. They have an ingredient in them that can turn your poop black. So if you've had that in the last 48 hours, then it possibly could just be that instead of, internal bleeding. But again, get it checked out, especially, if you're feeling a little unsure about it. So if you have red or reddish poop or bright red, that's usually an indication of something going on in the lower part of the digestive system. It could be hemorrhoids. It could be related to inflammatory bowel disease. It could be polyps or diverticulitis. But again, you've got to go and get it checked out. And then the last one, and Devra, you'll probably remember this one, is blue poop. Do you remember that from your course?
I do remember it, but I can't remember what it was all about.
Yeah, no, of course. who's going to remember blue poop, right? Okay.
I would remember it if I saw it.
Yeah, so we're not talking about, if you've had anything with blue in it or green in it, so, Jell-Os and Kool-Aids or candies or Freezy Pops or whatever they are, that's not what we're looking at here. So if you suddenly start having blue or even a blue-green type poop, it's extremely rare, but it's a side effect of heavy metal poisoning, such as radiation or cesium and thallium type poisoning. So there's different things that we can look at when it comes to our poop. But again, we just have to make sure first, let's make sure there weren't diet changes or eating something. And if that's not the case, and it's been about a month and you're suddenly doing things that are different than what you're used to, don't hesitate. Go and get that checked out.
So the bottom line is if you have a different colored poop, you want to make sure you get that addressed unless you've been eating something that same color.
Right, or if the consistency changes.
Right.
Let's say you have 2 poops a day and all of a sudden you are going every other day or maybe a week. That's something that you definitely want to get, checked out. Or, you have 1 to 3 poops a day and then all of a sudden you're having, uncontrollable diarrhea. That needs to be checked out because that's not normal for you. So those are the things that you have to pay attention to. So that's why they leave it ambiguous. So what it really comes down to is if something's really changed and you've noticed that change, then you need to go and get it checked out.
I have to stop for just a second. I guess we should have warned the listeners that when Karen and I get together, poop is always going to come up.
I even put my poop ring on tonight just for you.
So Ron just says, hey, I'm eating.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny when I'm doing courses. I always warn people, and it's the nurses who don't seem to have a problem. They can eat food all day long and talk poop for sure.
That's funny. There was, I think when I shared this with you when I first started, when we first met each other, is for me, poop was the ultimate 4-letter word. It's like, you don't say that out loud. Yeah.
Everybody does that, though, don't they?
Everybody does it. So.
Well, and it's true. And I think now, with the ability to do a lot of your own health care, that we're breaking those taboos now, and I think that we need to be talking about poop. And I'm glad that it's starting to become, the center of the dinner discussion, if you will.
Maybe not everybody's dinner discussion, but certainly ours.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned that a couple different 3 times a day or 2 times a day or every other day. Is there I'm just going to ask you to share, what is is there a normal for a particular person? Well, what do we aim for?
Okay, this is like a pet peeve of mine, and you're seeing this all over the place. We have been led to believe that 1 poop or more a day is okay. But if you understand how the physiology and the biology and the chemistry works in the body, it's actually 3 poops a day if you're eating 3 good meals a day. So if you're eating 1 meal a day, then you're probably going to have 1 poop a day. So what it really comes down to is a meal in, and you're going to poop within, 10 minutes to an hour, let's say. I mean, have you ever gone to the zoo and you see the animals and they eat and then, suddenly they start pooping?
Well, it's kind of like a baby.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. Yeah. So if you're eating 3 times a day, you should be pooping 3 times a day. And I'm talking about a really nice brown color. Like here's the color of my phone and wallet. You want like a...
I'll never think of your phone and wallet the same way again.
I guess I just need a round one, right? Well, yeah. So you're looking for like a milk chocolate bar to like a nice chestnut brown color. That's what you're looking for. That means that you've got that mixture of bilirubin from the breakdown of red blood cells, and you've got your gallbladder that's releasing its bile, and you've got that mixture, and so that means that things are working well. So if you're pooping, in my opinion, 1 poop or less a day, that's constipation. And what's happened is that normal has become what's the norm. All right. And so the norm is the average person is pooping every 72 hours. So that's why they're saying, if you're having a poop 1 or more a day, then that's okay. And it's not. It should be 3 meals in, 3 poops out.
You heard it from Karen.
You heard it here.
Right there. So kind of a little bit about what goes in. Can bowels change based on what you eat typically? You addressed that just a little bit. But what about stress or other lifestyle behaviors? Can that affect the consistency or color?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the thing that's really interesting is that think about stress, okay? When you're stressed, what do? You tense. And if you're tense, your gut's tense. And if your gut's tense, your bum's tense. And so you're actually clenching your bum closed. And I'm sure some of you who are stressing right now, if you just take 1 moment and just even pay attention to your bum, you're going to feel that tenseness. So now your bowel is just like one big muscle, if you will, and so it becomes tense. So that can affect and slow down that digestive process, right? And if we are stressed, we're in our sympathetic state, which is our response to stress. And when we're in our sympathetic state, there is no energy going to digestion. It's all energy going to the muscles so that we can either stay and be in that stress state or run away from that stress state. Yeah. So when we're in a nice, calm, relaxed state, that's our parasympathetic kicking in, which is our rest and digest. Okay. So foods can affect, our bowel movements, as well as stress can affect our bowel movements too.
Oh, you just said something. Someone asked, is there a special shape to look for?
Yeah, there's this thing called the Bristol-Myers chart, and you want between 4 is ideal, but if we can get between 3 and 4. So what you're looking for is like a nice soft, I want to say like, I don't know, maybe about that size, and it's I should have got Play-Doh. That's what I should have got.
Well, they can
but you don't know what
it,
you're
right?
going to be asked, right?
Google Bristol.
And it needs to be. It's very soft. If you eat a lot of fiber, then it'll be more on the spongy side. And it should literally come out in like either a C or an S shape, depending on the shape of your sigmoid colon. And that's the bottom part, right? So it's either going to come out like a C, and you literally get the movement like, whoop, I got to go to the bathroom. You go find a loo, you sit down, and you have this wonderful poo. There's no straining, there's nothing. It just comes out and just very nicely plops into the toilet, and somebody can go to the bathroom right after you because there's no wicked smells that could curl the paper, the wallpaper.
So what causes the wicked smell?
Oh my gosh.
That's another whole show.
I know, right? Food sensitivities. It could be gluten. Maybe you've got a gluten intolerance, too many carbohydrates, not enough vegetables, too much meat, too much fat. There's many different things that could, cause that type of a smell.
But a healthy diet, there should be no smell when you poop.
Absolutely. It should just have like an earthy, what do you call it when you break down the composty type of smell? You might, if you've got a really good nose, you might even smell like a little bit of the iron, that kind of thing. I think I spend way too much time talking
I got a question.
about poop.
Some people say, well, whether it floats or not. If it floats, means too much oil or not enough oil in your diet.
Well, the floating is
Do you want
basically.
floaties or sinkies?
Sorry?
Do you want floaties or sinkies?
I think you need a combination of both. I mean, if everything's just floating on top of the toilet bowl, then that means that your liver and your pancreatic or your gallbladder is not releasing enough of those biles, or there's not enough bile acids, or there could be a problem with the pancreas not releasing enough enzymes for that emulsification to break up those fats. It really just depends on the type of diet. I don't think it's supposed to go right to the bottom of the toilet. It's definitely not supposed to leave stickies all over the place where you have to flush 6 times. And it shouldn't just constantly be totally floating on the top of the bowl. But you're going to have some floating to it because there are going to be fats in your stool. But it's just that if there's too much, then you're probably not holding that nice, tube that's coming out. That's a hard one.
Yeah. So the next question we have, we're going to shift just a little bit from our favorite topic. Why can gluten be bad for you?
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question. It depends on the person. Some people, they may not have a problem with gluten at all, but for others, it's between, night and day. They eat it and they're sick for weeks, and then they don't eat it and they feel great. I think the biggest thing that we can talk about, number one, is gluten in terms of wheat. So and wheat is what most of us eat. So if you're having conventional wheat, it's a heavily sprayed crop with glyphosate, and glyphosate is a chemical that's used in pesticide that has been linked to several illnesses, including the recent California case with Dwayne Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not. I was really excited when I heard this. So there was this court case between Dwayne Johnson versus Monsanto, which is now a unit of Bayer Agriculture's product Roundup, and they found that this glyphosate was contributing to Johnson's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we know that because this is a heavily sprayed crop, plus they use the Roundup to burn down the crop at the end, and so we're getting high levels of glyphosate in our system, and it's really bunging up our microbiome. I think it's the easiest way to say it. So we also have to look at the fact that wheat products, for the most part, for the general North American eater, is in refined processed type foods, right? And so they've taken away all of the fibrous parts and the B vitamins, and all you're left with is just this starch, this pure sugar. And so because we don't have that fiber in our system, we're finding that a lot of the studies are associating, these high starch type foods and the link between obesity and diabetes and inflammatory type conditions. So it's not just the gluten, and it's the gluten grains, if you will, or even any type of grain where they've removed all of the bran and all you're left with is the starch. The other thing that you can look at also is gene testing. So if you have 1 or 2 of the genetic variants for the HLA, DQB1 and DQA1 genes, which are linked to some other genes like the HLA DQT and the HLA DQ8 halotypes.
Karen, when we get through, will you type that into the chat on Facebook so that people can?
That's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, all you have to do is that if you've had your 23andMe done, go into your health reports and just type in celiac gene, and it'll come up. So if you have one if you have one of those variants, then I believe that you're going to have more problems with gluten sensitivities. You may not be full-blown celiac, but you may find that you have a lot of problems with, digesting that gluten. If you have both of them, you may want to get tested for celiac disease, or at the very least, you may want to explore, taking gluten out of your diet and see, if you do better, if you're having a lot of symptoms or unexplained type symptoms. So there's a possibility for that too. But yeah, I'll probably type that in after the show, because I can't do two things at once. Thinking and trying to go on the camera is about it.
I'm doing good looking at the questions and talking to you at the same time.
You're good.
Okay, so let's move through these. What are good gluten replacements in one's diet?
That's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I think, why do we even have to have the gluten products? But there are some people out there who just really need to have, those grains. So I really think you need to be very, very careful with your gluten-free products, because they are just as highly refined as your gluten products. And it's because when you take somebody who's used to gluten and now you're putting them on gluten-free products, they have to add in all of these emulsifiers and thickening agents and starches to try and mimic what it tastes, like gluten bread, for instance. And so I find that because those are highly refined, they're causing problems all on their own, and usually the same types of problems that gluten is causing. But I also find that if you're blood type O, for instance, it's not that I'm 100%, blood type dieting, but I do bring that into when I'm working with people, because I have actually put this to the test. I worked in an integrative center for a year, and I tracked for a year, and I found that the blood type O's were the ones who had the biggest problems when it came to gluten and grains. So for blood type O, stick to like nut flours and tiger nuts or tiger nut flours. You could possibly put some buckwheat in there, but why not just take out the gluten and put more veggies into your diet, because you usually fill up on the gluten stuff and then there's not enough room for the veggies, right? The veggies kind of go off to the side. So if you must have, gluten in your life, then try to stick to the organic whole wheat gluten, or wheat, I should say. Or you could turn to ancient or alternative grains, which are, they're not used that often, and so they haven't been tinkered with by the food industry, thank goodness. Been sprayed. So things like amaranth and buckwheat, millet, sorghum, and teff, those are some things that you could try.
Awesome. Thank you. What is the fastest way to clean your gut and keep it healthy?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that, we're always looking for that quick, fast fix. But you know what? The GI tract is actually regenerative, and it regenerates quite quickly within 24 to 48 hours. So just by changing your diet, you can have a huge impact on your gut. So like we've been talking about, getting the gluten out of your system, just give it a break and see how you do. Things like caffeine and alcohol and tobacco, they are irritants to the gastrointestinal tract. Take them out of your diet. And you may find that your poop just might go back to normal, and a lot of the symptoms you were having are gone just from doing those things. Stress, of course, we've got to look after our stress. Get that stress down, because it's really hard, not just on your digestive system, but your whole entire immune system. It affects your microbiome, and then of course we really need to take care of our microbiome, all of those gut bugs, and so we need to incorporate more high fiber foods, especially our polyphenol foods. They in particularly feed our butyrate producing bacteria, and our butyrate producing bacteria creates wonderful anti-inflammatories, and those anti-inflammatories help heal your intestinal tract. And so if you feed your bugs in turn keep you nice and healthy, and that's probably the quickest way.
Keep your bugs happy and you can be happy.
Yeah, and just one more thing on that, because I think it's interesting how you said, what's the fastest way? Well, believe it or not, it takes about 18 months to correct your microbiome. So it's not a fast thing, but you can definitely bring down the amount of symptoms that you have and either completely reverse them or, minimize their involvement.
Thank you. For those that are listening, I know this is a ton of information, but thank you so much, Karen, for your time in doing this. This is amazing. Yeah. Karen's always available by email, and that should be scrolling at the bottom. We'll leave it at the end. But we're going to move right on. What are the steps? You know, there are people out there that they've been tested and they don't show that they have hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, any sign of thyroid issues, yet they still have the symptoms. Do you have any comments about that? What could be at play there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the average medical doctor only tests for TSH. And 9 times out of 10, and TSH is your thyroid stimulating hormone. And 9 times out of 10, your TSH is going to come back normal unless something, is really out of whack. So your thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH, it's released from the pituitary, and it tells the thyroid to make thyroid hormone. But there's, of course, more to this picture. And so if you were to turn to a functional panel, you would want to test for total T4, free T4, T3, and free T3, because even though the TSH is normal, these reference ranges might not be normal. And so free T4 is the inactive form of thyroid hormone, and it's converted to the active bioavailable form of thyroid hormone T3. And thank goodness there's a recording on this, because I'm going to be saying T3 and T4 a lot. So free T3 measures unbound active T3, and that's beneficial in looking at the conversion issues of T4 to T3. So if there are T4 to T3 conversion issues, that can be related to the liver and the kidneys. So this is where we can actually look at, how well our liver is detoxifying. Do we have the right nutrients in place to support that detoxification? And we can also look at adrenal issues, because they can also cause a decrease in the amount of total T4 and free T4 being converted into that T3. So depending on what is low, either T3 or T4 could be as simple as getting, more rich foods, such as iodine-rich foods or selenium-rich foods, so that you can help in that conversion. And then if you're, you also, I think if you're going to get a TSH done, you should have that T3 and T4 done, the free T3 and the free T4. But I also think it's important to get an anti-TPO or an anti-TG, which can measure the antibodies related to Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. And the reason is because, if you get your TSH tested and you are having, the symptoms of hypothyroidism and you're just not feeling right, then you may want to add this on as well, because this is a marker for Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. And the thing is that your TSH could come back normal, but you may be having a problem with this. So I think it's really important to go beyond it. And the cool thing is that, if your doctor refuses to test anything other than TSH, if you happen to live in a state where you can order your own tests, I highly recommend, you just put in, order lab tests online and see what comes up, and order your own tests, and then find that person who can help you with interpreting those thyroid panels that you get done.
Does 23andMe cover that in that test?
Well, there's 2 ways that you can test for thyroid. You can do like a blood spot, or you can do, did I say splot? Blood spot, or you can do serum. And I believe that I think there's even saliva that you can get done, but just do serum, and it's just a blood test. So you could go to Life Extension. Any Labs now seems to come to mind. I think there's Ulta Labs. There's mymedlab.com. I mean, just whatever city you're in, just type in. And ArcPoint Labs is another one. And you can just order those tests yourself. Luckily, we live in an age of biohacking, and so we're able to do these kinds of things. If you live in New York, you'll have to go and get it done outside of that state, because I know that that's one state that they don't allow you to do your own testing.
So I got a question. If you have a thyroid problem, does it affect the way you feel?
Yes, I mean, you can have hypothyroidism, which is more on the sluggishness side. It's hard to wake up in the morning. You lack energy, you lack oomph, those kinds of things. You could be putting on weight. But you could have hyperthyroid, where everything is speeded up. So all of a sudden you're losing weight, you can't seem to keep the weight on, you're feeling hyper all the time. There might even be sleep issues. And so there's tons of symptoms that can go along with hypo or hyperthyroidism.
Wow. So much to know.
Yes, indeed.
So much to know. Okay, moving on. See if we can get through all these questions. I just want to thank those that sent in questions. They sent in some amazing questions. So,
yeah, I'm impressed.
Yes.
I'm feeling like on, the money here.
Are intestinal parasites a thing, and how do you get rid of them?
Yeah, we're hearing a lot about parasites, and I belong to a bunch of groups, and I hear this all the time. People say there's no such thing as parasites. Parasites are a myth. That could not be the furthest thing from the truth. But when we think of parasites, we usually think about those helminths, right? So they're the large multicellular type organisms that you can generally see in your poo, right? So those are the ones that we're not really looking at, because if you have those, you're going to know that you have those. What we're more interested in are some of those helminths, as well as protozoas, and they're microscopic. They're one-celled organisms that can be free-living or parasitic in nature. But the interesting thing is that you have to know what you have. There's too many people out there who are self-diagnosing, and I can't tell you how many clients have come to me and I ask for a list of what they've done in the past, those kinds of things, and they'll say, oh well, this practitioner said I had parasites, so they put me on a parasite cleanse, but they had no idea if they had parasites or not. So I think it's really important that you find out if you have parasites. So the parasitic pathogens that I see the most often on the stool test that I use is Cryptosporidium, Entomida histolytica. I'm
Easy
so
for you
terrible
to
with
say.
big names. And Giardia. Giardia is a big one that I see. And then I also see protozoa parasites. The most common ones I see is Blastocystis hominis, Chilomastic mesanelli, and P. hominis. Those are the ones that I see the most often in my practice. So they are there. And the thing is that you don't have to visit a third world country in order to get these. Believe it or not, those ones that I just mentioned are on the CDC's radar. They are here in the United States, and they are showing up on these stool tests. So some of the things that you can do to get rid of them, but again, you have to test, okay? And the thing is that not only do you want to find out what you have, but you also want to find out if you got rid of it, right? Because how are you going to know? So you can use things like black walnut, garlic, oil of oregano, wormwood, berberine, golden seal, citrus seed extract, and then some of the foods that you can use. And I'm a big component when it comes to food, because if you incorporate these foods, if you have parasites, but you also want to incorporate these foods to prevent you from getting parasites. So things like raw pumpkin seeds and raw sunflower seeds, raw garlic, raw black walnuts, papaya seeds, cucumber seeds, cloves, cinnamon, apples, and apple cider vinegar. Those kinds of things are going to help get rid of parasites. But if you're taking them on a daily basis, you're also preventing as well.
Wow.
Whew.
That's a mouthful.
You're right. I'm glad this is recorded so we can go back and listen. I think, one of the most important things that I think is, you said you have to know. You have to become aware of your own health and take steps to manage it, not just listen to what everybody else tells you.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I hate to do this to you. We only have about a minute left, so I'm going to ask you this one more question.
Okay.
Is the endocannabinoid system a thing, and is it new?
Wow. Yeah, you're hearing a lot about the endocannabinoid system, and it's not new. And the reason why you're hearing so much about it is because of the legalization of CBD and THC, or marijuana, right? So endocannabinoids, or ESC, are a biological system comprising of endocannabinoids that bind to cannabinoid receptors. And what they do is they help to fine-tune most of our vital physiological functions, and they modulate the regulation of homeostasis across all of our major body systems, ensuring that, everything is just working in unison. But we don't have to use THC or CBD. We can actually tap into our own cannabinoid receptors with crunchy foods, especially when we're stressed out. We can do those with prayer and meditation and visualization. And we can also tap in and help release endorphins that can lessen the pain and increase the reward pleasures that will help us forget things that we don't want to remember. So it's not something new. it's been around forever. It's just come into the forefront because of the legalization of marijuana. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a good thing, that you don't have to take THC or CBD in order to tap into these cannabinoids.
That might explain why a lot of people, when they're frustrated or angry, want the crunchy food.
Yes, and in fact, we did a webinar together, and I remember talking about that. And you'll find that, and the reason why is because you have all of this stress built up inside of you. It's an energy that you have to release. And so once upon a time, we used to chew on bones after we did our hunt, right, to get rid of that excess stress and fear. And so today what we do is we reach for those crunchy things, and just by crunching down, you're releasing that energy, but you're tapping into those cannabinoids, and it's doing the same thing.
Thank you so much. I mean, we could probably sit here and talk for another couple hours. We might have to do a part 2, Karen.
For sure, I'm here.
So thank you so much for being with us. I saw a couple more questions in the feed. One was, it says from Ron, says Pepto-Bismol with a question mark. I'm not sure. So Ron, if you can ask if that's if you want to take it, if it's okay, and maybe we can answer that in the feed, because sadly we have to go.
And I'll go in and answer some of those questions when we're off.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. I love you.
Nice to see you both. Love you too. Bye, Ray.
Bye-bye.
And we'll be right back after this short message.
Gene Wood's Racing Experience, named for the racing veteran and 3-time champion, packs big racing action into extremely fast, high-performance karts that let you battle the other competitors side by side, just inches off the ground. Though the Las Vegas Strip provides a glittering backdrop, to the drivers at Gene Wood's Racing Experience, the blinking lights are all a blur. Behind the wheel of the high-performance karts, you'll zip around the half-mile track at speeds faster than other standard racing karts' top speeds. Drivers learn to commandeer the speedy karts through an instructional video before they are let loose onto the curving track for 10 heart-pounding laps. We are located at 121 East Sunset Boulevard in Las Vegas, Nevada.
You know what? It's time to go racing. Let's get her done!
Hi, I'm Dalen Woods. Welcome to Woods Family Sandwiches. I've always had a passion for food. When I lived in England, I owned my own restaurant. Then when we moved back to the United States, an opportunity came to open a sandwich shop, and I just wanted to get back into it. We have here at Woods Family Sandwiches wraps as well as salads and soups. We offer only the finest ingredients to our customers. We have boar's head meats and cheeses. We have fresh bread, fresh produce, great soups daily that we prepare for our customers, kosher whole pickles, Deep River Kettle One chips. We have a variety of wraps, or you can make any sub a wrap, any sub a salad. Come on in for our daily specials. We are located at 931 American Pacific, number 106, Henderson, or call us for your deliveries or pickups at 702-826-2230. Here at Woods Family Sandwiches, we're family owned and operated.
We are looking forward to seeing you.
Hello, we're back, and joining us is Derek Felder. He's the Assistant Executive Director for Lutheran Social Services of Nevada. Thank you, Derek, for coming to be with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
We told you last month, or 1 month, that one of our goals with the show is to highlight 501c3s or charity organizations in the community, because we really want to focus on what's going on good.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they're doing a lot of good for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So we were at your event the other night.
Oh,
And
yes.
that was a lot of fun. They had a fundraiser the other night. But tell us a little bit about Lutheran Social Services.
Okay.
We're going to learn a little about, but then I want to hear a little bit about you.
Okay.
So what is?
The entity known as.
I need a script. What is Lutheran Social Services of Nevada?
Okay, so Lutheran Social Services of Nevada is a 501c3, and we're an agency that is a social service organization. And a lot of people confuse us a lot of times with being a church. You know, we have to let them know we are a social service agency. But inside our agency, we have several different programs that we utilize to help people in the valley.
So you don't have to be Lutheran to use your services.
Oh no, we're not checking Lutheran cards at the door, so we welcome everybody to come in.
You ask them to profess faith or of any sort at all?
No, none at all. And the best part about it is we want to be an agency that's open to everyone, so everybody from any race, religion can come in and receive the services that we provide.
And you're in a brand new building.
Oh yes, and we're loving it.
It is a nice building.
Yes.
I was in the old building, and I recently saw, Marissa gave me a tour of the new building, and it's really wonderful.
Yes, and it was our executive director's dream to have a building that we can call our final home, and it just happened this year. And so we're very excited to say that, you know, we have our own home rent-free because our last location, of course, we had to pay rent, and now we can use that money and put it back into the programs that we have.
So let's talk a little bit about the programs. What can someone find when they go to Lutheran Social Services? What needs can you meet?
Okay, our number one need that we see a lot of in the valley is food. And we have one of the most unique food pantry systems. It's called Digimart. And Digimart is an online food pantry service where our clients can come into the lobby, sit down at a kiosk, and order their food. And they pick it up the same day. And we also have a feature that if they decide, hey, well, you know what, I don't want to go stand in the line, they can actually stay at home, log on, order their food, and pick it up the next day.
It is really amazing. I had a little tour of the pantry, the backside. I'm really impressed by the food that's offered, because sometimes when we think of giving food to those who are less fortunate, sometimes it's leftovers, you
Yes.
know, or things that we don't like or whatever. But there's some really good things. There's organic food. Where do you get all the food from?
We have a partnership with 3 Square, who provides us a lot of the dry goods and the canned goods. But we also have partnerships with Walmart Neighborhood Market, Albertsons, Smith's, Sprouts, and Natural Grocers. And they provide items that, you know, have exceeded their shelf life there, but are still good for human consumption. So we're able to still move that product.
So I got a question. Some of your clients are homeless.
Yes.
Do they have a way to, do they need to cook the food, or is it ready to eat, or how does it work?
The best part, we recognize that we do have homeless that come into our pantry. So we have items that are pop-top and easily heatable. And if they go to like a 7-Eleven, they'll let them use the microwave there to heat up their food.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so anything like this, Campbell's tomato soups in the little heatable containers, we have those as well.
The Digimart is genius. It's just like online shopping, only they do it right there. They can do it from home as well. So I'm impressed.
Yes, and we've just crossed 2 years with Digimart, and Digimart really has changed the way we have evolved as a food pantry. Because in the past, our shoppers would come in and go down the aisles and select their items. Well, we realized, yes, like regular shoppers, we do spend a lot of time kind of comparing items, and it would make for a longer day to get other people through. But with Digimart, everything is right there on the screen in front of them, and they can select the items they want and also the quantity as well. And it just the ease of pushing a button, they have it in their cart.
I even saw somebody with a birthday cake.
Yes.
That was impressive.
Yes. And we do receive a lot of bakery and pastry items from these grocery stores that we pick up from. And it's amazing because these are items that they're still freshly made within a day to 2 days. And we're able to take those and hand them right back out the door. And the biggest thing we see as a need is when we operate our pantry is the meat. Because at any time we can get in a tri-tip roast, a beef brisket, which we just saw last week, and that brisket was $60. Now, someone living on a fixed income cannot afford a $60 brisket, right. So we make it available to them for free.
Right. Is there a criteria for Digimart, to use Digimart?
With our new building, we do have a few criteria. One, they must have a valid ID, and we can work with invalid or expired, but they must have a social security number that we can put in the system. We need proof of address and proof of income. And if they don't have the last two, we do have waivers that they can sign, and so that way they can still receive services as well.
That's good.
Did you say proof of income, meaning they're on fixed income and don't have enough income?
If they're receiving SNAP benefits, which is food stamps, TANF, Social Security, we just need that award letter showing how much they receive, and then we put them right in the system. Because there is a guideline that shows how much money a family can make to be able to qualify for certain services.
And what's really impressive is, are we okay? What's really impressive is the kitchen, and they have classes that teach people how to prepare food.
And we love that part of the program. We have one volunteer now, Joanne, who comes in and she actually prepares food straight from the pantry. So she doesn't bring anything in, so it's like a cooking show, a cooking challenge. She has to use the items from the pantry to create a nice, healthy dish.
Nice.
The one thing she focuses on, because she's a vegetarian, so Mondays, she call it Meatless Mondays. And so everybody know they're going to get something without meat on Mondays.
Now, we're in Las Vegas. It's hot.
Oh, yes.
So how do they keep their food that they receive fresh if they don't have good refrigeration? Is that a problem?
A lot of times individuals that don't have refrigeration, they'll choose to get like sandwiches, things that they can eat readily.
Okay.
And then focus more on the canned goods and the dry goods as well.
Okay.
So you mentioned about an ID card. You recently started a new program, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. You want to tell us about that?
Yes. We have our birth certificate and ID program, which really helps people get back on the grid because, as you know, if you try to go get any services and you don't have an ID, you're shut down. And the one thing, because we have other services that we provide, but all of them revolve around having an ID. And so we will actually pay for their birth certificate if they don't have it. We will have it express delivered, and then once it's delivered, we will actually give them the original copy. We'll keep a copy, and then we'll set a date to meet them at the DMV to pay for their Nevada ID.
That's awesome.
That's one of the major stumbling blocks with a lot of homeless is they have their stuff all in one spot, and then all of a sudden it gets stolen, or they're misplaced, or anything can happen.
Oh, yes.
What about Social Security numbers?
Now, Social Security, we have them do that and on their own because they do have to go down to the administration and actually apply for that.
But once they have their ID card, it's much easier.
Oh, yes. Yes, and that's why we always try to secure that birth certificate first. And there's always some challenges with getting some birth certificates, like not knowing the county they were born in or one of the birth parents. So there's been a lot of trial and error with some states and some counties getting these items in.
So if you run across anybody who has lost their ID card, send them to what do you call it? The LSSN.
LSSN.
I'll be okay. So there's no reason for someone to be in need. With so many wonderful agencies, especially LSSN, you really have some amazing benefits.
Oh, yes.
So there's a couple where you actually go into the community. So let's move into that.
Yes, our biggest one, and this started back in 2010. I was tasked with doing a large-scale food distribution in Mesquite. And so we coordinated for about 2 months, and we found a local pantry up there, and we started our first off-site, which we called the open air market. We went out and we took a little over 35,000 pounds of food to Mesquite, and we distributed to over 430 families.
Wow.
And let me tell you, it was a long day, but very rewarding, because that meant, all that food was getting back into the community. And we enjoyed it. We loved it. And we started thinking, okay, well, we're doing it in Mesquite. And after a while, the local food pantry decided, hey, we can do this. You don't have to drive all the way up. It was hard to let go, but we let them run with it. But once we came back to Vegas, we started to realize, hey, you know what? We need to do this locally as well. And so we started partnering with churches and adult daycare centers. And then next thing you know, it just flew.
And they're all over Las Vegas. They're not just in one local area.
Yes.
Right. How do people find out where those are?
Well, they just need to come to our Facebook page and look at our events. And it will map out exactly where we're having it, the date and time, and any special requirements.
So the Facebook page is Lutheran Social Services of Nevada, or is it LSSN?
Yes, it's LSSNV, and you'll find our page.
Okay. So check that on Facebook.
Oh, yes.
So the open air market, it's pretty impressive. I've been to one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say, there's also, you have different locations where people can go eat.
Yes, we do have 2 senior meal sites as well, the senior congregate meal, and these started about 4 years ago, and they have grown beyond our expectations. So one is at 6670 West Cheyenne, which is Holy Spirit Lutheran Church, and that one is our newest one that came on board, and we have just a growing amount of people that attend these. So we're looking at well over 40 to 50 people that attend that one location. And now the other location is 580 East St. Louis, which is Reformation Lutheran Church. And that was the initial program, and it started off slow and we were a little scared. But as the word got out, we have seen attendance rise to over 50 people each day for that program.
And that's right in the heart of Las Vegas, isn't it?
Oh, yes, and we named it the Heart of the City Senior Meal Program.
Oh, wow.
And what time does that one start?
That one starts at 2 o'clock and it lasts till 3:30.
And the one at Holy Spirit Lutheran?
Begins at 12 and goes till 1:30.
Okay. So someone had transportation, they could
yes, they can hit both.
eat twice. So talk about is there a criteria for those meals?
Yes, the criteria is, and it's probably the easiest one. If you're over 60, you eat for free.
Wow.
So all my friends that are over 60, head over to Reformation or Holy Spirit Lutheran Church.
Yes. If you're 59 and younger, you do have to pay $5, but you're getting a nutritious meal made by the Culinary Institute.
If they're disabled, it's also free?
Yes.
Okay.
Also for disabled.
So what is the premise for the meals then? If there's no monetary criteria?
Yes. And with the meals, it's twofold. One is to make sure that our seniors are receiving a good, nutritious meal, and the other is the actual socialization.
Community.
Yes. And the program is really designed to help seniors get out of their home, come to an area where they feel comfortable and safe, have a good meal, and good conversation. And as the program evolves, there'll be activities that they can participate in. I know at some locations they like to sing and play the piano.
Good.
And so it gets them back into the mode of, hey, I'm out here in the world, let me see what else is out there, versus being in their home without family or relatives. They can come out and spend a little time with us.
So who prepares all this food?
The Culinary Institute.
You don't do it?
Oh, no, not yet.
I thought Derek was back there cooking.
He's like,
Marissa.
Yeah, give us a little while. We might be working on that. Future expansion.
There you go.
But the Culinary Institute?
Yes, and they deliver it hot, so we check it, make sure all the food handling requirements are taken care of, and then we slide it right out to our guests. And the best thing about it, they don't have to get up and come to the window. We serve them.
It's like a restaurant.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yes.
like a restaurant. So these are amazing programs. So anything that we forgot to ask you?
Well, we do have a couple more, and our second biggest one has to be our rental utility program. And the programs for rental and utility, they really make an impact in the community, because the funding we have right now is for homeless prevention, which means an individual or a family that has a house and may have a loss of income during that 30-day period. We can assist them if they qualify
That happens a
to
lot.
pay the rent. Yes.
It happens a lot.
Sometimes people are one paycheck away from losing their home.
Yes, and we constantly remind ourselves as employees that, you know, we have to be sensitive to that, because everyone that comes through the door, you know, they do come with a different stress in their life. And so we have to try to pick it apart and say, okay, how can we help you now with what you have available? And it's sometimes it's heartbreaking, because sometimes people just don't qualify, you know, but with them not qualifying for our program, we do reach out into the community with our community partners and say, hey, this is what we have.
So you whether you can help them physically, you send or not, you send them on to somebody else.
Yes, and it's good to have a collaboration with other agencies in the Valley, because we understand we cannot do it by ourselves. We cannot do it all.
Okay.
And so
you said one other program that you do.
Oh, and wait a minute. So we covered pantry. Oh, the newest one, well, actually two more. We have Women's Health Connect, which is a program. We have a caseworker that actually provides information to women so they can get their mammograms, get their screenings, and setting them up with those appointments.
That's one.
Yes.
That's good news, yeah.
Oh, yes. And it's one where it's coming on the heels of a program we just wrapped up last year, which was Connecting Kids to Coverage, which was a program designed to basically get children onto Medicaid and the family onto SNAP benefits. And so it worked out beautiful that we just were able to roll it right into Women's Health Connect.
So women that are desiring mammograms or whatever, how do they get those done? Is there a bus that comes by with all the machinery and stuff?
And actually, we do partner with agencies that have the mobile bus as well. But if they come into our office or they come to an outreach event, we can actually set up the appointment for them, because we do have a trusted network.
Oh, okay.
And as long as they have some type of insurance, we can, in a sense, streamline them right to service.
Excellent.
So they find all this information on your Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And also on our website, which is lssnv.org. And it'll be our complete website, all the services we provide, and any upcoming events as well.
So I noticed that you did something else for many years before this. How did you get involved in working with LSSN, and why is it? What drives you to serve the community the way you do?
Well, with me, I've been in the nonprofit field now for right around 17 years, and I've actually had a long history of wanting to serve, wanting to help people. So pretty much right after the military, I tried a few different for-profit jobs, and money was good, but I felt like I wanted a little more. So I eventually went to Goodwill of Southern Nevada, and I worked there for 8 years. Under a wonderful boss. He taught me a lot, and the only problem was he was only a few more years younger than me, so upward mobility just kind of got, plateaued. And so I started looking for how can I make another impact in the community, what else can I do, and basically expand my personal knowledge. And I had worked with Armina a few times while I was at Goodwill. We collaborated, and they had a position open for a transitional housing manager. And I was like, well, you know what, I'll try it. And next thing you know, I was there starting, matter of fact, May 17th of 2010. And it's been a beautiful ride ever since. I've learned so much. And it's a good feeling for me, because I did have the troubled childhood. We didn't have a lot. We were homeless off and on, living in abandoned houses. So I was in a field now that I can see I can make an impact. I can help other people, hopefully not have that same stress. But if they're going through it, now I can sit there and say, okay, I know what you need to do to help you come out on the other side of this.
You've been there.
Yes.
Not all our viewers live in Las Vegas, so does this bleed over into other communities with similar situations?
And we do have some services that we do provide from Pahrump, I believe Mesquite also as well, and Laughlin. And so when the funding is right, we do provide in those areas as well.
But to your point, every community there's things out there to help. So it's just like knowing what's going on with your health. If you have a need, a physical need, financial need, there's places in the community that can help. So go find one.
Yes.
Or if you have friends that say, I'm in dire need, how can I help?
Yeah.
Yes.
On behalf of of us and the entire community, I want to thank you and LSSN for all the hard work that you do for the community. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's been our pleasure, and we always tell people, like I said, if we can't do it ourselves, we do have partners in the community that can help us. And one of the biggest resources we let people know is to dial Nevada 211 from their cell phone, and you can ask for any service, and it will give you a list of agencies and numbers and locations to where you can get a service.
That was worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Say that again?
So it's Nevada 211, and you can call there and ask them for any service that you're looking
Is that
for.
Nevada spelled out?
No, you just dial 211 on your cell,
Okay.
and it goes
Go
automatic straight to them.
Excellent. 211.
So thank you very, very much. We're so happy that you joined us today.
And this has been another episode of Chew on This with Devra and Ray.
We didn't want to say that after the first episode because it was too close for comfort. Anyway, we hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving and you're preparing for Christmas. We'll be back. We'll be a little bit earlier, maybe later next month, because our show typically would be on Christmas Eve, and I know you'll all be out doing something special on Christmas Eve. So we're gonna adjust a little bit, but we'll put the word out about where we're gonna be. Make it a great day.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Gene Wood's Racing Experience, named for the racing veteran and 3-time champion, packs big racing action into extremely fast, high-performance karts that let you battle the other competitors side